All right, buckle up, everybody, because today's deep dive is going to be a wild one.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
We're warping into the grim darkness of Warhammer 40K, but with a twist.
The twist, huh?
Yeah, imagine if, like, inside that universe,
Yeah.
they had their own version of Hollywood.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Not movies about 40K,
Right. Yeah.
but movies made by the denizens of the 41st millennium.
Whoa, that's a fascinating concept.
It is right. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You got constant war, religious fanaticism, alien threats.
Yeah.
Can something as I don't know, frivolous as filmmaking even exist in that kind of setting?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would their movies even be like?
Exactly. That's what we're going to explore today.
I'm excited to dive in.
Me too. So I guess, like, the first question is, who are the Spielbergs of this grim, dark future?
Yeah, great point. Each faction in 40K has such a unique culture and worldview.
And technology, right?
Absolutely. All of that would shape their approach to filmmaking.
Big time. So let's start with the most obvious, I guess.
Okay, which one are you thinking?
The Imperium of Man.
Ah, yes, humanity's finest. Or at least most numerous.
Right. They're basically, what, a galaxy-spanning theocracy obsessed with their god emperor?
Pretty much.
So what kind of movies are they churning out?
Well, I'd imagine most Imperial films would be heavily influenced by their religious dogma.
So lots of propaganda.
Most likely, yes. Big, epic narratives about the God Emperor, heroic sacrifices, unwavering faith, that sort of thing.
Keep the masses in line, right.
You got it.
But the Imperium is also a vast and diverse place, isn't it?
Very much so.
So even within that, religious framework, there'd be room for different genres, right?
Of course. You could have gritty war documentaries, historical dramas, even maybe some action flicks.
I can totally see it. Like
Yeah.
a low-budget action flick about a squad of Imperial guardsmen.
Fighting off a horde of orcs.
Yeah. Shaky cam, over-the-top dialogue, the whole 9 yards.
Ha! Now that would be something to see, and here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, get me.
The Imperium is notoriously technologically stagnant.
Oh, right. They're clinging to that ancient technology that nobody really understands anymore.
Exactly. So their special effects might be incredibly rudimentary.
Rudimentary, huh?
Think more practical effects, real-life stunts, less CGI.
Wait, are you saying they might actually use real explosions?
It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Wow. And people in, like, monster suits.
Potentially. Imagine classic Hollywood spectacle mixed with gladiatorial combat, all fueled by religious zeal.
Okay, that's both amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Welcome to the 41st millennium.
Right. Okay, so we've covered humanity. What about something a little more alien?
All right. Which Xenos species are you interested in?
Let's talk about the Eldari.
The Eldari, huh?
Yeah, they're all about psychic powers, ancient technology, and brooding over their lost empire.
Ah, yes, a race of tragic poets.
What kind of stories would they tell through film?
I imagine their films would be introspective, melancholic,
So the opposite of a Michael Bay film.
Precisely. They'd probably be exploring themes of loss, memory, the cyclical nature of time.
Heavy stuff.
Very much so.
But wouldn't their advanced tech give them an edge in the special effects department?
It's not that simple.
What?
Their technology is more about manipulating psychic energies, bending reality.
Okay, so less about photorealistic visuals, more about what? Capturing emotion.
Yes, exactly. They might use their powers to create dreamlike sequences, abstract imagery,
Whoa.
or even manipulate the emotions of the audience directly.
Okay, that's get into some serious mind-bending territory.
It is, isn't it?
All right, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about a younger, more technologically driven race.
Interesting. Which one did you have in mind?
The Tau.
Ah, the Tau. A fascinating bunch.
They're all about unity, progress, and their greater good, right?
That's right.
That's playing in their theaters.
Well, given their emphasis on unity and progress, I imagine they'd use film as a tool to promote their ideology.
Propaganda again.
But perhaps with a more sophisticated approach than the Imperium.
Okay, I see.
They'd likely showcase their technological advancements, the benefits of cooperation,
Highlight the heroic deeds of those who serve the greater good.
Exactly. Sleek, high-budget sci-fi flicks with a clear message.
And probably some cutting-edge special effects.
Oh, absolutely. But they might also have a surprising interest in documentaries.
Documentaries.
Really?
Yeah, using film to study and understand the other races of the galaxy, even those they consider enemies.
That's kind of creepy, but I can see it. Knowledge is power. even in the 41st millennium.
Precisely.
All right, let's get really weird now.
Weirder than the Tau making documentaries about their enemies.
Oh yeah, much weirder. What about the Necrons?
Ah, the Necrons. Now we're talking.
These guys are ancient, undying robots who have woken up after millions of years.
A race obsessed with death and their own glorious past. What kind of movies would they make?
Now that is a question that could lead down some very strange and unsettling paths.
Right.
I imagine their films would be as alien and unsettling as they are.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about it. They're obsessed with resurrection, immortality, and the futility of organic life.
So basically Nightmare Fuel, the movie.
Pretty much. Lots of disturbing imagery, bizarre rituals, a sense of existential dread that would leave you shaken.
Okay, I'm officially terrified.
Don't worry, we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Oh, great. That makes me feel so much better. But we can't wrap up this intergalactic film festival without talking about one more faction.
Oh, of course, I should have known. We can't forget about the orcs.
Everyone's favorite green-skinned maniacs.
What's their idea of a good movie, I wonder?
Well, considering they love all things loud, violent, and destructive.
It's safe to say their films would be chaotic, to say the least.
Like a Michael Bay film on steroids, but with less plot and more crude humor.
Imagine a movie that's just explosions, nonsensical fight scenes, and guttural roars. All designed to get the orcs riled up for a good 40H.
Sounds more like a safety hazard than entertainment, but hey, who am I to judge?
Right. It's all a matter of perspective.
So we've met our potential directors.
Indeed. We've got the Imperium, the Eldari, the Tau, the Necrons, and the orcs.
But what about the stories themselves? What kind of narratives would each race actually tell through film?
Ah, now that's where the real fun begins. Imagine a Necron horror movie where the protagonists are slowly going mad as they realize death is no escape.
Oh, man.
Or a slapstick orc comedy about a group of boys trying to build the biggest, loudest shooter in the galaxy.
Okay, both of those sound incredible and terrifying.
The possibilities are truly endless, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to consider the realities of filmmaking in the 41st millennium.
Oh, right. It's not like they can just hop on a plane and fly to a nice, safe location for filming.
Exactly. Imagine trying to secure a location permit on a planet that's constantly under attack. Or casting a movie when your potential actors might be space marines, psychic aliens, or giant bloodthirsty monsters. And then there's the ever-present threat of censorship.
Yeah, the Imperium wouldn't be too happy about films that challenge their authority. So we've got this fascinating clash between the creative drive to make movies and the brutal, oppressive realities of the 41st millennium. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the next step is to look beyond the who and the what of 40K filmmaking. We need to delve deeper into the why. What motivates these factions to make movies in the first place? Is it purely for propaganda and control, or could there be other, more nuanced reasons? That's the big question, isn't it?
It is, right.
Like, why even bother with movies in a galaxy that's basically just one giant death trap?
Yeah, good point.
But I think even in the worst possible situation, humans, and probably Xenos too, they crave escape.
Escape, yeah.
A distraction from the horrors of everyday life, entertainment, basically, even in the 41st millennium.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Like, even if your life is all bolter fire and demons, you still need a break.
Exactly. So let's think about why each faction might be making movies.
Okay, sounds good.
For the Imperium. Well, propaganda would definitely be huge.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Stir up hatred for aliens, reinforce faith in the God Emperor, that kind of thing.
Movies that make those horrible sacrifices seem glorious.
Exactly. A very effective way to control the masses.
It's kind of chilling when you think about it, but hey, at least it's not just propaganda, right?
Right. Remember those independent filmmakers we talked about?
The ones risking heresy accusations just to tell a story.
Those are the real heroes. Imagine those folks exposing corruption in the Imperium, showing the struggles of, like, the average person.
Giving people a glimpse of, I don't know, maybe hope amidst all the grim darkness.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like filmmaking is rebellion.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But what about the Xenos?
Xenos.
Yeah, they're not all going to be making propaganda or rebelling against the Imperium.
Of course not. Take the Eldari, for example. Their movies would probably be about preserving their culture, their memories.
Right, right.
Before they're, lost forever.
It's kind of a sad thought, isn't it?
It is a bit.
This dying race holding on to their past through art, and humans They're so focused on the future that they've forgotten their history.
That is a fascinating contrast, isn't it? It really shows how art can, like, transcend even the most desperate
It
situations.
does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what about the Tao? What would their movies be like? They're all about progress, right?
Absolutely. The Tao would likely use their films to showcase their, technological advancements,
Show off a bit, maybe.
perhaps a little.
Yeah.
But also, their films would reinforce the idea of the greater good.
And maybe even encourage other races to join their cause.
Exactly. Very subtle but effective propaganda.
I'd watch a Tao blockbuster. Sounds interesting. But what about the Necrons?
The Necrons, their motivations for filmmaking, those are a bit harder to grasp.
Right. I mean, what's the point of making a movie when you're basically immortal?
Well, think about it. They wake up after millions of years, and the galaxy is completely different,
Yeah, that's got to be disorienting.
to say the least. So their films might be a way for them to process that loss, to try and understand their place in this new reality.
Or maybe to reclaim what they think is theirs.
It's possible. Necron cinema as existential therapy. It's a strange thought, but it makes a certain kind of sense.
Yeah, I could see it. But what about the orcs? I feel like their motivations for filmmaking would be a bit more straightforward.
Maybe on the surface. It's
Yeah.
tempting to say their movies are just mindless violence and mayhem,
Which, knowing the orcs, is entirely possible.
but there might be something more to it. What if, for the orcs, violence is their art form, their way of expressing themselves?
Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. Their movies are basically just a reflection of their culture, even if we don't really get it.
Exactly. It's all about perspective.
All right, so we've talked about why these factions might make movies, but how would they actually go about it?
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. I mean, the logistics of filmmaking in the 41st millennium would be insane.
Right, like just getting to your set could get you killed.
For real.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine trying to transport a film crew and equipment across the galaxy through warp storms, enemy territory.
No catering trucks, no craft services. Your set might be like a war zone.
Or a decaying space hulk. Maybe a demon-infested planet. Just your average Tuesday in the 41st millennium.
Yikes. Not exactly the ideal working conditions.
Hmm.
Okay, but what are the tech?
The tech.
Yeah, the cameras, the lighting, all that stuff. We talk about how each faction's technology would influence their style, but I'm curious about the specifics.
Ah, I see. Well, for the Imperium, imagine cameras that are basically relics from the dark age of technology.
Clunky, archaic, held together with prayers and good luck.
Pretty much. Their lighting might be flickering torches, sputtering plasma generators.
Adding to the grimdark aesthetic.
Of course. And film reels. Probably miles of parchment scrolls.
Meticulously transcribed by scribes and guarded by fanatics.
Exactly. It's almost steampunk, but with a very distinct 40K twist.
It's cool to think about how those limitations could actually lead to more creativity.
I agree. It forces them to rely on practical effects, ingenuity.
Something we've kind of lost in our world of CGI. And the Eldari, their filmmaking tech would be totally different, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Eldari, with their mastery of psychic energy, their cameras might capture emotions, memories, not just images.
Well,
Their lighting might shift and change with the mood of the scene.
and their film reels.
Maybe woven from starlight,
Yeah.
containing entire lifetimes within their threads.
That's beautiful. It's like their movies are more like spells than films.
A very poetic way to put it.
Okay, what about the Tau? Their technology is all sleek and efficient, right?
Right. High-resolution cameras capturing every detail.
And their lighting.
Precise, controlled, creating a sense of order and harmony.
Their film reels would probably be data crystals.
Storing vast amounts of information in a compact format.
It's like their movies are extensions of their own minds. Logical, focused, with a clear message.
Yes, very much so. But the Necrons, their technology would be something else entirely.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine cameras that can record events from multiple perspectives at once, or capture glimpses of alternate realities.
That's trippy.
Their lighting might come from their own bodies, eerie, otherworldly glows.
And their film reels.
They might not need them at all. They could project their films directly into the minds of their viewers.
Okay, now that is just freaky. It's like their movies are like psychic assaults.
A very unsettling thought. And then there are the orcs.
The orcs, with their unique approach to technology,
Their cameras might be cobbled together from looted Imperial equipment.
held together with duct tape and orc logic.
Their lighting could be anything that burns bright. A wrecked truck, a pile of scrap metal.
And for film reels, they might just carve their stories onto like slabs of rock.
A testament to their raw energy. It's primitive, but strangely compelling.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so we've talked about the technology, but what about the actual process of filmmaking, like casting, directing, editing? How would they approach all of that?
That's a fascinating question. Imagine a casting call for an Imperial War epic.
Yeah.
Grizzled veterans lining up alongside fresh-faced recruits, all hoping to embody the spirit of the Emperor's finest.
It'd be
Yeah.
intense. And what about an Eldari director?
They might guide their actors through these dreamlike sequences, trying to capture the essence of their race's history.
It'd be like a blend of acting and like deep meditation.
Exactly. And then you have the Tau director meticulously planning every shot to reinforce their message of unity and progress,
And a Necron director probably manipulating their actors like puppets.
forcing them to act out scenes of cosmic horror.
Okay, I think I'll stick with the Eldari films.
A wise choice, perhaps. But what about the orcs? How would they direct a film?
Well, knowing the orcs, it'd be less about direction and more about, like, controlled chaos.
Imagine trying to herd a mob of orcs into some semblance of order.
Sounds more like wrangling squigs than directing a movie. But hey, that's the 41st millennium for you.
Yep.
Always unpredictable.
Indeed. But there's one more question we need to consider.
Okay, what's that?
Who's watching all these movies?
Oh, right. We've talked about the filmmakers, but not the audience.
And that's a crucial part of this whole discussion. We're not just talking about the creation of art, but its reception, its impact. So let's dive into the world of 40K cinema goers and see what their experience might be like. So first things first, where are we watching a movie?
Good question. Let's say we're in a packed theater, somewhere deep in an Imperial hive city. What's that like?
Packed is right. I bet the atmosphere would be electric. You know, anticipation, maybe a bit of anxiety mixed in.
Anxiety? Why anxiety?
Well, think about it. In the Imperium, even going to the movies could be risky.
Oh, right, because of the censorship. The Arbit's watching your every move.
Exactly. You'd probably have to sit through a bunch of propaganda rails before the main feature even starts.
Extolling the virtues of the God Emperor, demonizing heretics and aliens.
You got it. And even during the movie, you got to be careful not to react too strongly to the wrong scenes.
So it's like going to church, but with bolters and chainswords.
Huh. Yeah, something like that. But, you know, even in that kind of oppressive environment, I bet there are still moments of genuine connection.
People laughing together, crying over a hero's sacrifice.
Exactly. Little sparks of humanity defying the darkness.
I like that. Okay, but what about those secret screenings, the ones organized by those rebellious filmmakers?
Ah, now those would be something else. Picture a hidden room, maybe in the Underhive somewhere, full of intellectuals, dissidents, people hungry for something real.
It'd be like a speakeasy, but for movies.
Exactly. And the stakes are even higher. One wrong move and the Inquisitors could come crashing down.
So what kind of movies are they watching in this underground cinema?
Anything that challenges the Imperium's narrative. Documentaries exposing corruption, stories about the forgotten masses, maybe even like forbidden romances.
A human and an alien falling in love.
It's dangerous, but it's a way to show people that there's more to the galaxy than what the Imperium tells them.
Wow, it's like a window into another world. Okay, let's change gears again. What about watching a movie in an Eldari craft world?
Ah, now that would be a completely different experience. Forget the high city crowds and grime.
Right.
We're talking tranquil chambers, soft light, the scent of incense.
That sounds relaxing.
The Eldari would be sitting in meditative poses, their minds open to the deeper meanings of the film.
So like going to a spa, but with more philosophy.
Huh. In a way, yes. But remember, the Eldari carry a lot of sadness with them.
Right, their lost empire, their fading power.
Exactly. So their films would be slow, contemplative, full of symbolism.
I bet they'd be beautiful, though. Tragic, but beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be an experience unlike anything else in the galaxy.
Okay, let's try one more. What about a Tau movie night?
Ah, the Tau. Now, their theaters would be bright, modern, with amazing sound systems.
Comfy seats, good snacks, the whole deal.
You know it. The audience would be a mix of different casts, all united by their belief in the greater good.
So pretty similar to our movie theaters, then.
In some ways, yes, but the content would definitely be different.
Lots of propaganda about the Tau Empire.
Sure, but not in a heavy-handed way. The Tau genuinely believe in what they're doing. Their films would reflect that optimism, their hope for a better future.
Okay, I'm kind of curious now.
I told you, it's fascinating to think about. All right, last one, and this one might be a bit much.
Oh no, what is it?
Imagine watching a movie in a Necron tomb.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, that's not really my idea of a good
That'd
time.
be an experience, that's for sure.
Paint me a picture. What's it like?
Okay, so you're in this massive echoing chamber, right?
Right.
It's ancient, filled with silent Necron warriors, and the air is thick with dust and, I don't know, the feeling that you really shouldn't be there.
And the movie itself, what would a Necron film even be about?
I don't know if I can even describe it. Something that messes with your perception of reality makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Sounds like a one-way ticket to an existential crisis.
Yeah,
I'll stick with the Tau films, thanks.
probably a good call.
So we talked about the movie-going experience in the 41st millennium, from the propaganda-filled theaters of the Imperium to the mind-bending cinema of the Necrons.
It's quite a range, isn't it?
It is, and it makes me wonder, what does all of this tell us about the 41st millennium itself?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? In a galaxy consumed by war and darkness, the fact that these different races are creating art, telling stories,
It means something, right?
it means that even in the face of unimaginable horror, there's still a spark of something more. A desire for connection, for meaning, for escape.
That's actually really beautiful. And it makes me think, if even the orcs can find a way to express themselves through film, maybe there's hope for the 41st millennium after all.
Maybe there is.
Well, on that surprisingly optimistic note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into movie making in the Warhammer 40K universe.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. And as always, we want to leave you with something to think about. So imagine for a moment, you're a filmmaker in the 41st millennium. What stories would you tell? What risks would you take to share your vision with the galaxy?
The possibilities are endless.
They are. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Like and subscribe for the God Emperor or suffer his wrath.